Hello, and welcome to week 4 of the course. I want to spend a few minutes going over a couple points related to the readings for this week, which are Chapter 6 in the textbook on Skeptics May Object, and then the other reading from the back of the textbook, the reading section, is Michael Pollan's Escape from the Western Diet, which begins on page 624. Chapter 6 is really trying to add some credibility to your argument. So when they say, don't just pile up research and your arguments and put it into a format of a paper and never deviate from that. If you think about a debate, and we'll get to the point here in a second, a good debater is not somebody who can just come out and debate and just lay out their arguments and their position, but it's also one who can identify their skeptics, their critics, and be able to have some kind of foresight into what their critics are going to say about their position. And they oftentimes will engage that into their argument. So in other words, if you want to argue really well, know your critics, know your skeptics, understand what they're going to say to you, and then in addition to that, as the authors point out in this chapter 6 of the textbook, not only know it, but introduce it into your paper. So you want to introduce what the skeptics may say. However, I believe X. However, critics may argue that X. That lends credibility to your argument, and it helps keep that writing as a conversation, engaging in a discussion more open and flowing. So that's kind of a good point. The authors give some nice examples here through the text, but I do want to just point out a couple things in the chapter, and then we'll move on. Like I said, I'll keep this one relatively short. I do want to read this passage. This is on page 78 in the textbook. As we argue throughout this book, writing well does not mean piling up on unconventional truths in a vacuum, getting to the point that I was making a minute ago. It means engaging others in a dialogue or debate, not only by opening your text with a summary of what others say, or others have said, as they suggested in chapter 1 of the text, but also by imagining what others might say against your argument as it unfolds. That is key to strengthening your argument and to giving credibility to what you have to say. There are several templates throughout chapter 6 that kind of help with this. On page 81, for example, yet some readers may challenge my view by insisting that blank. I'd really like for you to try for this next paper to integrate some of these templates into your response. And so again, if you remember, there's a second writing assignment is due this Sunday. That would be the 19th by 11 p.m. In this paper, this time, you have the option to write on Michaela Cullington's Does Texting Affect Writing? Or Michael Pollan's Escape from the Western Diet. So you have a choice here. My suggestion would be to choose whichever one is of more interest to you. But when you are arguing and making your point, I'd like for you to try to use these templates to, if you believe that, for instance, texting has no effect on writing skills, academic writing skills. Again, don't just make that point throughout, but integrate what others are saying into that. You can use these templates. For instance, of course, many will probably disagree on the grounds that X or blank. Okay. There are several templates throughout chapter 6, which I think are very, very good. Please use those to strengthen your argument and introduce what others are saying against you or may say against you. Okay. The one thing we have to make sure that we do, it's kind of a fine line here, is you want to make sure that you represent objections fairly and accurately. You also don't want to give them too much credence or too much time, but the point is to make your stance integrate what others may say against that, and then refute what their arguments are. So, and it actually will strengthen your argument by doing that. So you're presenting your argument, you're bringing in what others might say against it, and then you are coming back and reinforcing your argument by refuting or finding some flaw in what others are saying. The second piece to this is covering just a minute about Michael Pollan's Escape from the Western Diet. In this essay, which opens up the section in the book titled "In Defense of Food: An Eater's Manifesto," Pollan argues that focus on single nutrients, what he calls nutritionism, impedes an accurate comprehension and understanding of healthy eating. The only solution to Americans' eating problems, he argues, is to stop eating a Western diet. And first think about what a Western diet is then. He, in a sense, believes that creating low-carbohydrate or low-fat food does nothing to improve the Western diet, and both the food and medical industries benefit from competing scientific theories about nutrition. Instead, Pollan suggests that we avoid processed foods when possible and consider how a healthier environment might lead to healthier food options. So think about that. How does environment affect our food options and choices? He concludes the chapter by reminding readers of his credo, which is eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And that's all I'm going to say for this one. Remember that your paper is due this Sunday by 11 p.m. and that is the only thing you'll have due to submit this week. We do have our student-faculty appointments this week. Please make sure that you log into the student-faculty appointment through Canvas. The link on the top of this week's module, which can be found right here. So at your scheduled time, you click here and log into the meeting. And that is it. I hope to see you all very soon, and have a good week. Take care.